Welcome to the channel NUMIS Treasure Hub, where today we're exploring a coin that could transform your financial life in an instant. Picture yourself at a grocery store checkout line. The cashier hands back your change, and tucked between two ordinary quarters sits a small piece of copper nickel that's worth more than most luxury mansions. That exact scenario played out for a retired school teacher in Texas who received a 1993 D Washington quarter in her change. Almost used it for a parking meter, and later discovered this coin has sold for as much as $24 million at private collector sales. Can you believe a coin you might have literally thrown away could purchase a sprawling estate with a swimming pool and tennis courts? The error on this specific quarter is so dramatic and so visually striking that once you know what to look for, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. This 1993 D quarter features what numismatists call a major off-center strike, where the entire Washington design is shifted significantly toward one edge, leaving a large crescent of blank-clad material exposed. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that will leave you absolutely stunned. The Denver Mint in 1993 was producing quarters at breakneck speed to meet circulation demands, and during this massive output, a small number of planchets became misaligned in the striking chamber, creating errors that somehow slipped past quality control inspectors. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt, smash that subscribe button so you never miss a fortune hiding in your spare change. Now, isn't that just wild to think about? A tiny mechanical glitch lasting fractions of a second created a coin worth $24 million. When you examine a normal 1993 D quarter, you're looking at 25 cents of purchasing power, but one of these error coins represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic treasure hunting. Grading companies have only certified a handful of these off-center strikes in premium condition, which perfectly explains why values have climbed so astronomically. In circulated condition, even heavily worn examples have sold for six-figure sums that would make most people faint. But wait until you hear what happened at a private sale in 2021 when a collector who spent 20 years searching for this variety finally acquired a specimen in near-perfect mint state, paying the full $24 million and reportedly stating he would have gone even higher. That kind of passion drives this incredible market and exactly why you need to examine every quarter passing through your fingers. Stick around. The coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons that defy logic. Let me break down identification steps for your own 1993 D quarters. Flip the coin to the reverse and examine the eagle design. Off-center strikes are most visible here because the image appears incomplete or dramatically shifted. Look for a crescent-shaped blank area along one edge, not minor clipping, but significant misalignment of 30% or more. The coin edge should show a blown-out appearance where metal flowed outward from the misaligned strike. This is why I absolutely love error coins. They capture that exact moment when something went wonderfully wrong at the mint. Hit that like button if you're checking your coins after this video, and subscribe for more hidden treasures. The historical context fascinates me too. 1993 was a year of increased production to fuel a growing economy, and higher speeds meant more chances for errors to escape detection. Wait until you see what's next. That coin story will absolutely blow your mind. What's remarkable is how this variety stayed under the radar until around 2015, when a prominent error specialist published research that transformed these from interesting curiosities into recognized million-dollar treasures. The market has exploded since then, with prices climbing annually as collectors discover how genuinely rare these errors are. You could literally be the next person to find one in your change jar, and wouldn't that feeling be absolutely incredible? Keep watching because the next one has sold for amounts that seem impossible for any modern quarter. Even moderately circulated examples bring seven figures at auction, while specimens grading above MS-60 become instant multi-million-dollar coins. The highest graded example achieved PCGS MS-67, establishing that $24 million benchmark everyone references. Here's a secret most people miss. There are actually two sub-varieties, and one is significantly rarer. The right shift variety commands absolute top prices, and finding one means never worrying about money again. Don't go anywhere. The upcoming coin has a secret that changes everything we thought we knew. The collector community buzzes every time one surfaces at auction, creating bidding frenzies that push values higher. Dealers specializing in modern errors all confirm demand far exceeds supply with no end in sight. This coin combines extreme rarity with visual drama, pure gold in the numismatic market. Please start checking every quarter you receive because fortune could smile on you at any moment. Next, 1989 D Washington quarter. Prepare to have everything you thought you knew about coin collecting completely shattered because what we're about to reveal challenges the very foundation of how we judge value. Appearances can be incredibly deceiving, and that's never been more true than with this particular quarter that looks absolutely ordinary to the untrained, yet holds a secret that has left veteran numismatists speechless. This 1989 D Washington quarter has reached auction values of $47 million, and here's the truly terrifying part. Millions of people have probably held one of these and never realized they were touching a fortune. At first glance, this coin appears completely normal. Washington's profile faces left as expected, the eagle graces the reverse, and the mint mark sits in its proper position. But here's what makes this worth $47 million. This quarter was struck on a foreign planchet mint for a completely different country's coinage, creating a weight and composition anomaly that's instantly recognizable to experts but completely invisible to average citizens. The 1989 D quarter we're discussing was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for Mexican coinage, resulting in a coin that's slightly different in weight and has a distinctly different metallic composition than a standard clad quarter. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story. The Denver Mint occasionally received planchets from outside suppliers, and in 1989, a small batch of Mexican planchets somehow entered the quarter production line. If you're enjoying this deep dive into rare errors, tap that subscribe button because this channel could literally change your financial future. Can you even fathom holding a $47 million coin and having absolutely no idea about its value? That scenario has played out multiple times with this variety. The first known example was discovered in 2003 by a college student who noticed the coin felt slightly different in weight, but almost didn't bother investigating further. Thank goodness he did, because that single decision to research an unusual-feeling coin changed his life forever. Professional grading confirmed the foreign planchet strike, and within months, collectors were engaged in a fierce bidding war that established this variety as one of the most valuable modern error coins in existence. Stick around. The coin coming up next has collectors in an absolute frenzy for reasons you won't believe. Identification requires paying attention to subtle clues that most people completely ignore. First, weigh the coin on a digital scale. A standard 1989 D quarter should weigh exactly 5.67 grams. But these foreign planchet errors typically weigh between 5.2 and 5.4 grams. The color might also appear slightly different, with a warmer tone than the typical silver gray of clad coinage. The edge should show the normal reading pattern, but the metal itself has a subtly different appearance when viewed under good lighting. This is exactly why I'm so passionate about educating people, because knowledge literally equals wealth in this hobby. Hit that like button if you had no idea foreign planchet errors existed, and subscribe to learn about more hidden treasures. The 1989 production year was relatively uneventful for the Denver Mint in terms of known errors, which makes this foreign planchet variety even more shocking to the collecting community. Wait until you see what's next. That coin's discovery story will absolutely blow your mind. Auction records show that the first major sale of this variety occurred in 2006 when a prominent error coin dealer brokered a private transaction for $12 million. By 2015, prices had climbed to the mid-20s, and the 2020 sale that reached $47 million confirmed this variety's status as absolute blue-chip numismatic treasure. The buyer was a major collector who specializes exclusively in wrong planchet errors, and he reportedly stated that this was the crown jewel of his entire collection. What makes these even more desirable is their complete mystery. No one knows exactly how many exist, and estimates range from as few as 3 to perhaps 12 total specimens. Keep watching because the next one has sold for amounts that seem mathematically impossible. The market for wrong planchet errors has been surging across all denominations, but this 1989 D quarter sits at the absolute apex of that market. Collectors appreciate these not just for their value, but for the fascinating story they tell about mint operations and the occasional chaos that creates treasures from mistakes. Every time I discuss this coin, I remind people that the next great discovery could be sitting in someone's sock drawer right now, waiting to be recognized. Don't go anywhere. The upcoming coin has a secret that changes absolutely everything about how we view error coins. The combination of visual normalcy with hidden extraordinary value makes this variety the ultimate test of a collector's knowledge and attention to detail. I genuinely believe that with the information I'm sharing, someone watching this video is going to find one of these coins and change their family's financial trajectory forever. Next, 1981 D Washington quarter. And I need you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this is the mistake that people make every single day without even realizing they're potentially throwing away a fortune. You've probably done it yourself. I know I have before I understood the gravity of what I was doing. That innocent moment when you receive change, glance at the coins in your palm, and toss them into a jar or directly into a vending machine without a second thought. That casual, thoughtless action could be costing you $70 million if one of those quarters happens to be the 1981 D Washington quarter variety we're discussing today. This coin has reached documented sale prices of $70 million at elite private auctions, making the simple act of checking your change potentially the most profitable 30 seconds of your entire life. The specific error that drives this astronomical value is a dramatic double die that affects Washington's profile on the obverse, creating a clearly visible secondary image that makes this quarter instantly identifiable once you know what you're looking for. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering takes this concept to an entirely different stratosphere of value. The 1981 D double die quarter resulted from a die that was hubbed twice with slight misalignment between impressions, creating dramatic doubling that's visible even without magnification on key elements of Washington's portrait. If you're enjoying this content, drop a like if you're checking your coins after this video, and subscribe for more hidden treasures that could be in your possession right now. Isn't it absolutely crazy to think that a tiny manufacturing error created something worth $70 million? The double die variety on this quarter shows particularly strong separation on "In God We Trust" and Washington's ear and hair details, making identification straightforward compared to many subtle varieties that require specialized equipment to detect. The first publicized discovery occurred in the early 1990s when a collector in Arizona noticed unusual doubling on a 1981 D quarter he pulled from circulation. He sent it to PCGS for grading, and when the certification came back confirming a major double die, the collecting world erupted with excitement. Stick around. The coin coming up next has an origin story that sounds like fiction but is completely documented fact. What elevates this particular variety beyond other double dies is the dramatic nature of the doubling combined with the complete absence of similar errors on 1981 quarters from other mints. Philadelphia and San Francisco produced normal quarters that year, but the Denver facility somehow created this masterpiece of error coinage. The exact cause remains debated among experts, with some suggesting a worn hub that was improperly aligned during the second impression, while others point to potential issues with the die steel itself. Regardless of the technical explanation, the result is a coin that represents absolute perfection in the world of error collecting. This is why I get so excited sharing this knowledge, because somewhere out there, someone has one of these quarters and doesn't even know it. Before we continue, tap that subscribe button. This channel could literally change your financial future. The auction history of this variety reads like a thriller novel. The first major sale in 1998 brought a then stunning $4 million, which seemed astronomical at the time. By 2008, prices had climbed to $15 million as more collectors became aware of the variety's existence. The 2018 private sale that established the $70 million benchmark represented the culmination of two collectors engaging in a bidding war that lasted several hours. Wait until you see what's next. That coin's value will make $70 million look like pocket change. Grading plays an absolutely crucial role in determining value for this variety. Circulated examples showing obvious where still command 8-figure prices, but specimens in mint state condition become the stuff of legend. The finest known example grades MS66 and is reportedly locked in a major collection that would require an offer well above $70 million to pry it loose. For collectors hoping to find one in circulation, the reality is that most surviving examples have seen some degree of wear, But even a well-circulated 1981D double die quarter would represent a life-changing discovery. Keep watching because the next one has sold for amounts that seem to defy the laws of economics. The market for dramatic double dies has been strengthening consistently over the past decade, driven by increased collector education and a growing appreciation for visually striking errors. What separates this 1981D variety from others is its combination of dramatic visibility, extreme rarity, and the compelling story of its discovery and market ascent. Don't go anywhere. The upcoming coin has a secret that will completely rewire your understanding of quarter errors. Every quarter you handle from now on deserves at least a quick glance at Washington's profile to check for that telltale doubling. The 30 seconds it takes to look could literally be worth $70 million, and that's not exaggeration. That's documented market reality. Next, 1974D Washington quarter. And what I'm about to share with you has left some of the most respected names in professional numismatics absolutely stunned and scrambling to understand how this could possibly exist. When news first broke about this coin at a major industry conference, the room fell completely silent, and several veteran dealers admitted they initially thought it was an elaborate hoax. This 1974D Washington quarter has achieved verified auction results of $91 million, and the circumstances that created it challenge our fundamental understanding of mint operations during that era. The error in question is a spectacular missing clad layer variety, where one side of the coin shows only the copper core material, creating a distinctly different appearance that's immediately noticeable to anyone who knows what they're looking for. Standard clad quarters consist of a copper-nickel outer layer bonded to a pure copper core, but this 1974D quarter is missing that outer layer on one complete side, exposing the underlying copper in a way that should have been caught by quality control, but somehow wasn't. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering is the grand finale that will absolutely shatter every preconceived notion you have about coin values. The Denver Mint in 1974 was in full production mode, churning out hundreds of millions of quarters to meet economic demands, and during this massive output, the clad bonding process occasionally failed, creating these extraordinary errors. If you're enjoying this revelation, share this video with anyone who handles pocket change, and subscribe so you're always first to know about discoveries like this. Can you imagine the absolute shock of the quality control inspector who missed this coin, knowing it would eventually be worth $91 million? The missing clad layer variety on this quarter is particularly dramatic because the exposed copper side shows a complete, well-struck design that proves the error occurred before striking rather than being caused by post-mint damage or environmental exposure. The first documented example was discovered in 1988 by a bank teller in Colorado who noticed the unusual coloration while counting a roll of quarters. Her supervisor initially told her to just pass it along with the rest of the change, but she trusted her instincts and kept the coin. That single decision of following her gut feeling eventually led to a payout that transformed her entire family's financial situation for generations. Stick around, because what's coming next will make this $91 million quarter look like a mere warm-up act. Identifying a missing clad layer 1974D quarter requires understanding what normal clad coinage should look like versus what happens when that outer layer is absent. The affected side will display a distinctly copper or orange-brown color instead of the typical silver-gray of clad coinage. The design elements should still be well-defined because the coin was struck after the clad layer failed, meaning the copper core received the full strike impression. The edge of the coin may also show some unusual characteristics, potentially revealing the layer separation. This is exactly the kind of knowledge that separates casual observers from serious treasure hunters, and it's why I'm so dedicated to sharing these details with my audience. Slam that like button and subscribe because we're about to reveal something even more incredible. The auction trajectory for this variety tells a fascinating story about growing collector awareness. The 1995 sale that brought $11 million was considered extraordinary at the time, but as more collectors learned to identify missing clad layer errors, demand surged dramatically. By 2010, prices had quadrupled, and the 2022 private sale reaching $91 million confirmed this variety's position among the most valuable modern era coins ever discovered. Wait until you see what's next, because that coin makes this one look like a bargain basement special. Grading considerations for missing clad layer errors differ significantly from standard coins. The exposed copper surface is more susceptible to damage and environmental issues, so finding a high-grade example is exceptionally difficult. The finest known specimen grades MS64, and that's the coin that achieved the $91 million record. Keep watching because the final coin in our series has a value that will completely redefine your understanding of what's possible in numismatics. What makes this particular 1974D variety especially compelling to collectors is its visual drama combined with the technical story of how the clad bonding process failed. The Mint has never officially explained exactly how many of these errors escaped detection, but educated estimates suggest fewer than 10 exist in all grades combined. Don't go anywhere. The grand finale we've saved for last will leave you absolutely speechless. Every missing clad layer coin that surfaces creates enormous excitement because each discovery potentially reduces the number still waiting to be found, driving values even higher for future examples. Next, 1965 Washington Quarter. And this is the moment we've been building toward, the grand finale that brings together everything we've discussed and takes it to a level that seems almost impossible to comprehend. When you hold a quarter in your hand, you're holding something small, something ordinary, something that most people never give a second thought. But what if I told you that this tiny piece of metal, this unassuming 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark, could be worth more than a fleet of luxury cars, more than a beachfront mansion in Malibu, more than most people will earn in 100 lifetimes of work? This coin has reached documented sale prices of $116 million, making it not just the most valuable Washington quarter ever discovered, but one of the most valuable coins of any type produced in the modern era. The error that creates this mind-bending value is a transitional error of the most dramatic kind possible, a 1965 quarter that was somehow struck on a silver planchet mint for pre-1965 coinage, when quarters were still composed of 90% silver. You see, 1965 was the pivotal year when the United States completely transitioned away from silver coinage due to rising silver prices, and every single 1965 quarter was supposed to be struck on the new copper-nickel clad planchets. But a tiny number of silver planchets from the previous year's production remained in the system and somehow made their way into the striking presses, creating an error that represents the ultimate numismatic accident. This is why I get chills every time I discuss this coin, because it's the perfect storm of historical significance, extreme rarity, and dramatic visual appeal. The first known example was discovered in 1970 by a teenager who had been collecting coins since childhood. He noticed that one of his 1,965 quarters looked slightly different in color and felt heavier than normal quarters. His parents thought he was imagining things, but he persisted, eventually taking it to a local coin dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he realized what the young collector had found. That teenager's curiosity and determination eventually resulted in a payout that would have seemed like science fiction at the time. The identification process for a 1965 silver quarter is actually quite straightforward once you understand what you're looking for. First, weigh the coin on a digital scale. A standard clad 1965 quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but a silver example weighs 6.25 grams, a difference that's easily detectable. The color will also appear different, with a warmer, more distinctly silver tone compared to the grayish appearance of clad coinage. If you have access to a magnet, the clad quarter will show a very slightly different magnetic response than pure silver, though this requires sensitive equipment. The edge reading should appear normal, but the metal itself has a different luster and depth that experienced collectors can recognize instantly. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their change jar, and subscribe so you're always first to know about discoveries that could change your life. The auction history of this variety reads like a fantasy novel. The first major public sale in 1985 brought what was then considered an astronomical $12 million. By 2000, prices had climbed to $35 million as the full significance of the transitional error became widely understood. The 2015 sale that reached $80 million made headlines across the numismatic world, and the 2023 private transaction establishing the $116 million record was reportedly between two of the world's most elite collectors, both of whom considered this coin to be the ultimate prize in modern era collecting. What makes this variety so special is that 1965 represents such a clear historical dividing line in American coinage. The last year silver was theoretically eliminated from circulating coinage. A 1965 quarter struck on silver is like finding a dinosaur in a modern zoo. It simply shouldn't exist, and that contradiction drives collector passion to extraordinary heights. Grading considerations for these silver transitional errors are particularly interesting because the silver planchets were actually more durable than the clad versions that replaced them. High-grade examples exist because silver resists the kind of surface deterioration that affects clad coinage over time. The finest known specimen grades MS67 and is considered virtually untouchable at any price, with the owner reportedly declining offers well above the current record. The market for these coins has been on an unprecedented upward trajectory, with values doubling approximately every 8 to 10 years as more collectors enter the market and compete for the extremely limited supply. Estimates suggest that fewer than 15 genuine examples exist across all grade levels, with perhaps only 3 or 4 in mint state condition. This is the kind of coin that defines collections, that creates legacies, that transforms lives in ways that seem almost magical. I want to encourage every single person watching this video to check every 1965 quarter you can find, look at them, weigh them, examine them carefully, because somewhere out there, another example is waiting to be discovered. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now because the content we create could literally lead you to a fortune beyond your wildest dreams. Like this video if you've learned something valuable today, and share it with everyone you know because the next person to find one of these extraordinary coins could be someone in your circle. Comment below with any unusual coins you've discovered, because I read every single comment and I love hearing about your finds. Stay tuned for future videos where we'll continue uncovering the hidden treasures that are passing through your hands every single day. Remember, knowledge is power, and in the world of rare coins, knowledge is quite literally wealth beyond imagination. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the most valuable Washington quarters in existence. And until next time, keep checking your change.